let's talk about personnel grouping. Let's talk about the 3rd and 1s. Let's talk about the 3rd and 2s when you decide all the time not to put a fullback or not to put a lead blocker in front of Philip Lindsay. Or how about let's not even have Philip Lindsay in the game at that point. Let's now put in, Royce Freeman, the bigger, thicker back in these situations. So that's where I have my issues with Rick Scangarello. I also want to talk about his play calling, his inability to move on from things. Tight end screen. We saw it at the tight end screen. It was 3rd and 8. We saw it in the Colts game. Did not work. Then the week after, you run it against Minnesota again. Did not work. Then we saw it last week. And we saw it in the Buffalo game. Did not work. So why do we continue to run plays that don't work? Rick Scangarello needs to move on from those things. Now, also, I want to talk about this offense's inability to check into screens at the line of scrimmage. That is something that's on your offensive coordinator. That is something that the play caller needs to say, hey, listen, when a team shows you blitz and they're going 0, this is what I want you to get into. I want you to check into a screen. You remember here when everybody would say, oh, my gosh, DT got his play back. And when Mike McCoy came and that play was so awesome, the slip screen. Sandy, I could have called that play when I was out there at right tackle because it was a certain look. When a team was going 0 and you look at the safeties and there's no safeties backed up there and the safeties are close down to the line and you know they're blitzing, we knew that we were going to Mickey and Minnie right away, that we were going to call the slip screen. We knew that Peyton was going to check into it. It was just what way are we going with it right now? As an offensive lineman, I knew that because of my offensive coordinator, because of how we game plan throughout the week, because when we showed up on Wednesdays, when we showed up on Thursdays, that is the plan going into the game. And Rick Scangarello doesn't have these plans. Hold on, Sandy. I want to keep on going, and I want you to hear the rest of the things that I got for you. This team's inability to check into draws. Okay, you got a bad offensive line, you check into screens and you check into draws. So don't tell me that you have a bad offensive line, that you can't get anything done with this offensive line, and that's why you got to be so conservative. No, you can run draws and you can run screens because that's what other teams do with bad offensive lines. You check into those plays because those are plays that are home runs when your offensive line is struggling. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, you know what? The Broncos need to fire Rick Scangarello. He doesn't need to be a part of this organization. But I don't believe that Rick Scangarello should be calling plays for the Broncos in 2020. I think that you should demote him and put him into a role where now he is the quarterback coach because no matter what, the Broncos are going to have a young quarterback. Whether it's Drew Lock next year or you decide to draft a quarterback, you're going to have a young quarterback. And Rick Scangarello is good at developing young quarterbacks. We saw him do that with Nick Mullins out there in San Francisco. So if you put him in that role and now you go get a guy that's called plays in this league, a more veteran guy, and Rick Scangarello could help with the game plan. He could help. He could be in those meetings. He doesn't have to completely be out of the loop, but you need somebody else that's going to call the plays and put this team in a better situation.
Game planning is one thing. Play calling is another, right? That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And the best coordinators tie the two together. That's why you're able to anticipate when you get certain looks. Well, I know what play we're checking into.
Yes. The best
it
play callers
together.
are able
they are different skills.
They teach that.
Right.
They drill it week in, week out. You know exactly where you're going. And that's the issue right now. So as far as Rick Scangarello, being the play caller, I think the Broncos would be fools to say, hey, we're happy with how Rick Scangarello performed this year. He's going to be the play caller next year. I think you've got to go get him help. This was a guy that was a first-time play caller. He showed that he's struggling, but also he hasn't shown the improvement week to week. And these are little things when I talk about screens, when I talk about draws. These are things that you should have had up all year. We had a veteran quarterback in Joe Flacco here, and he's played a ton of football, was a Super Bowl MVP. When you played against Kansas City's blitzing, there's no blitz beaters. So that tells me that doesn't fall on Joe Flacco when he's not checking on the line of scrimmage. That falls on the offensive coordinator because you should be telling them from Monday, from Tuesday, from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, hey, if KC gets into this look, this is what we're going to go to because this beats the blitz. And this play puts us in now and gives us potential to have a home run.